Iowa rental laws outline all of the rules and regulations governing rent-related issues such as the terms of the lease, landlord-tenant rights and responsibilities, evictions, and more. In this video, we'll give an overview of what the state law says about lease agreements, required disclosures, security deposits, and eviction. We're eForms, the largest online database of fillable legal forms. Check out the link below to access a fillable lease agreement template. Let's first go over the basics. What is a lease agreement? A lease agreement is a rental contract between a landlord and a tenant. Depending on the type of agreement, whether it's a month-to-month lease, a standard agreement, or rent-to-own, both the landlord and the tenant are bound to the specific terms regarding the length of the lease, the termination, and more. Because a lease agreement is legally binding once it's signed, breaking the contract can result in hefty fines or even legal action. Next, let's take a look at required disclosures. In Iowa, the landlord must include the following disclosures in the lease agreement. Disclosure of managers and agents. The landlord must disclose the name of every person allowed to enter the property on their behalf. Lead-based paint disclosure. Under federal law, the landlord must provide a disclosure notice about lead-based paint if the property was built on or before 1978. Shared utilities. The landlord must disclose if there are shared utility charges and the rate at which the charges and services are calculated and billed to the tenant. Comprehensive environmental response compensation and liability information system. If the property is listed in this federal database for polluted locations requiring long-term treatment for hazardous waste, it must be disclosed to the tenant. Now, let's take a look at security deposit laws. In Iowa, the landlord may not charge more than 2 months' rent as listed on the rental contract for the security deposit. Also, under state law, the security deposit must be returned to the tenant within 30 days from the date the tenant vacates the property. Finally, let's cover Iowa's eviction laws. In Iowa, a landlord may evict a tenant under the following requirements. Non-payment of rent. If the tenant is late on rent, the landlord can issue a 3-day notice to pay or quit. Clear and present danger. If the tenant has engaged in dangerous conduct that placed others or the property at risk, the landlord can issue a 3-day notice to quit. Non-compliance. If the tenant breaks any portion of the lease other than late rent, the landlord can issue a 7-day notice to quit. If the violation is not fixed within 7 days, the tenant must move out. Termination. If the landlord wants to terminate a month-to-month lease for reasons other than non-payment of rent or non-compliance, they must provide 30 days notice to the tenant. Want to learn more about Iowa rental laws? Visit the link in the video description for a comprehensive breakdown on all things related to lease agreements, evictions, and more.